So it's like rolling right now, eh?
Yeah, it's rolling, but I'll edit right up into that point.
Oh, I see.
Or I'll even keep it going from here.
How do I look? That looks sexy. Hey, okay.
I hope so. No, welcome to the Open Gospel. This is my second guest, and I'm proud to announce that I'm having my buddy Bryan here, and we're going to discuss some scripture. He has a lot to share, and well, first, I guess we'll just get right into it, brother. Honestly, where are you from? Who is Bryan?
Who is Bryan?
Who is Bryan? I don't even want to attempt at your last name.
Wow.
Sometimes I feel like I say it wrong.
It's butchered. It's
Give it a shot. I'm going to go with Szablewski. It's wrong.
It's Szablewski.
Szablewski.
That's why I tell everybody. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a little trick.
All right.
Yeah.
I'll remember that.
I was probably 10 years old until I learned how to say
Szablewski.
my last name. It's hard, but I can give me a last name like Smith or something, you know. But anyways, so who am I? I guess for a long period of time, I didn't really know who I was before Christ, and that's what we're gonna get into. So we might as well start it off strong.
Who's Baby Bryan?
Who's Baby Bryan?
There's that truck.
Yeah, just Jake breaking down the road. That's a good thing we didn't do it outside. I don't know. I feel like a lot of my past, I kind of suppressed a lot of it, and what's really cool is that I look back at a lot of those times, and I didn't think Jesus was in my life at all because I wasn't walking with him, but of course he was, and there's just a lot of things. I shouldn't even be alive right now. He's always been there for me. I don't know if I'm answering this question the right way.
You are.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think. So I know. All right, I'll lead on this one, right? I think you're from Florida, correct?
Yeah, they're kind of fully loaded questions. No, not Florida. I'm originally from Jersey.
You were from Jersey?
Yeah.
I always thought
I'm a
you were from
Jersey
Florida.
boy. No.
But you moved to Florida?
No, maybe Florida because that's a part of my testimony. I have a family down there.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's probably what it is.
Yeah.
See, this is why I'm going to learn a lot about you because, boy, we only had a few conversations and they've been deep. But we never actually got to know one another. And so, that's why I was like, all right, you know what? I might as well ask a couple things that I want to know. I'm curious about your journey since you were a boy. Now, if you don't want to indulge in that, I understand.
I see.
And I can edit this out.
No, that's fine. I don't even know where to start.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, what exactly do you want to know? I mean, I can tell you where I was born and the state and the hospital and X, Y, and Z, but I don't really think any of that has any substance to who I am now.
No?
Okay. Well, maybe.
I think everything, like for me,
I guess, yeah.
Everything
everything does have a purpose and a reason for it. I can see that.
Because I guess where Jesus was involved in your life, you just didn't see it, right? But
yeah, and it makes things more personal too. I mean, this being a podcast, you want to be more relatable to people as well. Like, it's nothing happens for a coincidence. So maybe somebody is watching this that's from my hometown. So yeah.
I should have given you a heads up. I should have given you a heads up.
No.
I just was like, I'm going to come at him. But now I'm
no,
thinking
that's
about
fine.
It, I'm like,
Shark attack. And, that's cool. So, I was born in Brick, New Jersey. Small-ish. I wouldn't say real small-ish little town. Brick, New Jersey. That's in Ocean County. Did a lot of live in Monmouth County, too. And there's that smacking.
Yeah. I get it, man. It's all right. I barely even heard it.
Oh, no. Let's see. So, I don't know.
How about this? I'll lead you off.
Okay.
I'm part of what you would call a broken family at first, right?
Okay.
So, mom and dad split up. Dad leaves. Mom tries to pick up all the extra slack. Marries another man. Great man. Love him to death. That's actually where Amaratus comes from. I was originally Robinson. But I changed my last name when I became an adult after deployment so that I could have that. I wanted to give my, I would say earthly father, really him, the ability to have grandchildren with his last name. So that was really the important factor in my life. But biological father, I tried mending things, didn't work out too well. And maybe that's because God's timing is not ready for it. So I'm just accepting that. However, I would say a lot of my upbringing, you know what? I'm hearing myself talk about it, and I understand why it's so hard to talk and guide my way through.
It's strange, isn't it? Yeah.
Even though I know, so I guess because I don't want to ever talk ill of my family. So, and I feel like it could come off that way.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just trying to see.
And at any point,
get a starting point. Yeah, no, at any point I feel uncomfortable, and I'm not gonna.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. So, childhood growing up, I guess you could say. My dad did a lot of raising of me. My biological mom, not really there, present,
Okay.
but not really there. Let me see. My dad was, like most men, just always out working, not really home, but I mean, he,
workaholic.
I guess.
Okay.
But, my mom, she was, we're talking about this stuff now because I'm like, this is a podcast, man. Like everybody's listening. But I guess it's all right. Like what you're saying, you just don't want to, dishonor family or anything.
That's my biggest hold
It's
up.
interesting.
I would love to share so many details. I would do it on a more personal level, one-on-one, but broadcasting a lot of that stuff out, I do think it dishonors by unfortunate. I think what's that called? It's a repercussion of it.
Yeah.
Not intentional, but no family's perfect. When my girls are older, because I have 2 baby girls, when they're older, they're going to have stories that will come off as if I was a bad parent or my wife's a bad parent, and it's not what it is intended. It's your journey, though. Like, we all want to do our best. My parents did their best.
Yeah.
Except my biological father. He did not do his best. So I'm just going to put that out there.
Did the best with what he was given. Maybe you can say. See, I don't know your story. Okay, so
I don't know.
Yeah, that's okay. Okay. All right, so I'm not gonna. Yeah. So my dad worked. I wouldn't say he was a workaholic. But he raised me majority of my life. So my mom, I haven't seen her since I was 8, biological mom, and who knows exactly. But that was somebody that I had that hurt as a kid. I didn't know how to find that forgiveness. I needed Jesus for that and many other things. But definitely for her, that was a piece to the puzzle earlier on. But yeah, my dad did most of the raising for me. My grandmother at the time, his mother, I'd be over her house and spend time with her, and while he was working and all that. And when you're a kid, it's just weird. You don't really know exactly all of the behind the scenes stuff. You're just a kid. You're focused on playing and just trying to be a kid.
Absolutely.
Like, so for instance, like my biological mom, like I'd be at her place and she'd be like, oh, don't tell your dad about this guy that was over. He's just a friend or whatever. And you're a kid, you don't think anything of it. And then you're older and you see everything that's going on.
Wow.
So
wow.
that's some pieces to it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. No. Okay. So I get that. That's okay. So is that?
So for me, talking about it, I don't think that's open wounds or any of that. It's not like that. It's just
That's honest.
It is. Yeah, but it's not something I get to bring up very often. So but no, it's good stuff. One of the coolest things was, and then like I said, when you're a kid, you don't realize in hindsight, but I realized this later down the road. My dad was telling me that I was bought at a price, and he's not walking with the Lord, but it was a good example of what Christ kind of did for us, and in a way. So what happened was my biological mom, she, was acting a mess, crazy, and, she called the cops on my dad and all this, and...
Was there drugs or alcohol
involved?
involved?
No, none of that was involved that I'm aware of.
Okay.
I think it was a lot of mental illness.
Oh, okay.
And, so I think that was a lot of it. Maybe she wasn't ready to have a kid. There's a lot to. I'm not exactly sure.
Was she a young mom?
No, no. It was out of wedlock too, so maybe I'm not sure exactly. Maybe that could be a piece to it because it wasn't really. I wouldn't say having a kid is outside of God's design. Having a kid is
100%
having a kid.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's we're gonna bounce around.
We're going to. It's all right though.
Yeah,
right now we're just stay track.
It's what's gonna happen.
It's okay.
Yeah, because I was gonna say too, like I it annoys me that like if somebody has like a kid out of wedlock and then you have like Christian parents or something, they just like they're not gonna honor their daughter. It doesn't matter. It's a baby. It's a it's a creation from God. It doesn't matter how it got there. Whether it was in the marriage bed or even as far as a rape, it's still a baby.
I agree.
And God can redeem that. So, kind of a little sidebar. Anyways, she put my dad in this situation to where she wanted to get custody of me, and I don't think she ever really wanted custody of me. But told him pretty much pay me X amount of money. And you can have him, and I'll be on my way, and that's what he did. Essentially bought out a price. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure that your upbringing story is probably deep if you really were to get into it, and I think that that would be that's your own personal story, your own walk.
Right.
But I'm curious okay, so in the very beginning, you have a little bit of a situation that's a little chaotic, right? As a kid.
It's hard for me because it's weird to say, like I'm not ashamed by it or anything like I said, but a lot of the childhood stuff, you just and for me anyways, you just kind of put it back to the recesses of your mind kind of thing. So it's almost
sounds like you have holes in your story.
That's really what it is. That's really what it is. I'm just having a hard time putting all the pieces together. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, see, I guess that you know what? Me and the wife always talk about how we remember a lot of the bad things that happened to us as kids and stuff like that. And we also have a lot of gaps in our childhood that we forget.
I think those pieces and those gaps are really important because as you grow into adulthood, the things that you struggle with, you just don't struggle with them out of nowhere. It all comes from some sort of root.
Sure.
And I think it starts young. Especially say like pornography, for instance, something I struggled with for a long time, and I know a piece of that root for me was I was introduced to that when I was say 7 years old or so. My cousin, not that he touched me in any way or any of that, but just like, oh hey, come over and check this out on the computer, and the next thing you know, and you're just doing, and that's kind of where it all started.
How old are you when you're in third grade? Because that's how old I was.
Third grade. Oh.
I honestly don't even know.
Dude, I don't know. That's why I dropped out of school.
Oh my god. So yeah, me too. No. So third grade is when I was exposed to it, and man, I can tell you probably the first 10 pornographies I've watched.
I see. And you still vividly remember that. Mm-hmm. Okay, interesting.
And one of them. And this is not to sound gross, but I remember hanging out with a friend. I won't even put his name out there, even though I don't talk to him anymore. We were kids, so third grade. But we were on his computer, and this when internet was still kind of fresh, but we knew how to navigate as kids. And my goodness, it's so sick. But it was a bestiality thing. He's like, "Come here, check this out." There was a dog doing something to a girl, and I remember watching it, right? But I'm telling you now, dude, I'm 30, I'm going to be 34 soon. And I can tell you the whole scene.
Yeah, in graphic detail, right? Yeah,
I was in third grade.
Yeah.
And it wasn't scarring like, oh my gosh, it's disturbing. It wasn't like that. It was like, what the heck am I watching? But intrigued. As sick as that sounds, but I'm in third grade. I shouldn't be seeing it in the first place. And the same goes with you always hear stories of people seeing the dad's nudie book underneath the bed or something like that, or underneath the mattress. And we had the same thing growing up, right? But the only difference I would say is with the VHS, right? Mm-hmm. And then I remember I had to be in some point in later elementary school, me and my brother both discovered my parents' stash, right? Because it was their love life. They do whatever they want to do. But as kids, we discovered it. And I can tell you verbatim what I was watching. And it's disgusting because, and I was explaining to somebody earlier about the problem with pornography is that there's a filing cabinet in your mind and it literally stores everything, right? Your brain is much wiser and smarter than a computer. It's incredible the intelligence that we have, And unfortunately, it holds on to things. And so I have a lot of images that I can go to if I wanted to, right through a filing cabinet, which, thank God, since Christ, I'm able to really control that. But there was a time where it wasn't controllable. Do you know what I mean? Like, I couldn't go anywhere without those thoughts. And it all stemmed from pornography. And it all stemmed since third grade, being exposed to it. And prior to third grade, I remember being exposed to conversations that were sexualized. And I should not have been hearing them. And as simple as this, and again, I don't want to dishonor my parents, right? I really don't. But when I'm a boy and there's a sex scene on the TV, I'd be laying there on the floor, peeking up at it, watching it.
Oh, yeah. No, absolutely.
And my parents...
You remember...
They would be like, close your eyes.
Oh, yeah.
But I would be like, okay, I'm closing my eyes, don't worry. Yeah, I'm like really into it as a kid, a boy.
Right. It's essentially like, don't touch the red button kind of thing.
Yeah.
More or less.
Yeah.
You want to touch the red button.
Heck yeah. Give me that button now.
Yeah. I mean, it's with everything, when you look back as a kid too, that even like cartoons. Remember Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
Uh-oh. I'm going to sound like a terrible kid. Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
Yeah.
I know the Roger Rabbit.
It was like I think it was just a movie.
Is that that's the movie where it's like half cartoon, half people?
You know exactly what I'm talking about.
So I think Dumbo was in the window and stuff.
Right, but I'm getting to that character, and I haven't watched it since I was a kid. It's a kids movie. But the character, the female with the red hair. Yeah, exactly right.
Yep. Yeah, I remember she was like a rabbit or something.
I don't even know. Maybe I don't even know the story plot or anything. But I'm just talking about and I don't even know if that was like there was no way that was G, because there was like guns and stuff. Anyways,
different time.
Just regardless, the things that you're exposed to as a kid that even might be seeming innocent or anything, just all lead to just a deeper, darker, bigger thing.
Right.
God, this is like kind of a taboo thing, and like by the grace of God, I've never gone this far at pornography. But I don't think somebody just wakes up one day and says, "Hey, I'm going to look at kitty porn."
I agree. I think it's a slow poison over time. I think the problem with porn, and you deployed,
yeah, right.
So soldiers in particular, I know can adapt or can relate to this.
I can tell you.
But you can go from watching a little bit to more and more and more, and then to the point where when you're on deployment and there's nothing else, that's all you're watching.
Yeah.
And you have to, your search history starts getting more aggressive in nature or changing. It's changing. I don't explain it. Like,
it's nasty.
Like the average sex doesn't do it for you mentally anymore.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I'm getting at. So I said, yeah, like I said, I thank God I never got that far down the rabbit hole, but I can see how you can, because it's just never enough. The flush is just never enough. You're never satisfied with yourself.
No.
So it just puts you in this place to where it just gets darker and deeper and darker and more lonely.
Yeah, but this goes to every sin.
Yeah, absolutely.
Murder.
Yeah, 100%.
You know how someone kills somebody? It's because it started with a little bit of hate or a little anger.
Well, I think that's almost secondary. The emotion of anger.
What do you think? What is secondary?
So I think you're not just angry at somebody because you're just angry. Maybe I don't know. Maybe
I'm give an example. So like
like sadness can become before anger.
Okay.
Because you don't know how to handle it. For instance,
friend stops talking to you for no reason.
Yeah.
Ends up hanging out with another guy.
Right. You're sad. You get in your head.
Yeah,
you're angry at him.
There's something wrong with me.
You make him out to be the bad guy. Maybe because you can't deal with your own stuff.
Okay.
For an example.
And I guess that could brew.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then he mistreats you one time, teases you, whatever, in front of other people.
Right.
And you're already brewing in your mind.
Yeah, and you're at your boiling point.
Right. So that's what I mean. It almost develops. It starts something small,
and that's exactly what I'm getting at. Back to full circle to the point of this is with sin, it all starts as a thought, and that's why. And I could be taking the verse out of context with take every thought captive. But there's something to that because like I said, I think it does start as a thought, and then once you feed into that thought and everything, then you'll start to manifest into other things. You don't just go out and murder somebody. First, you have to think about it. It needs to be premeditated,
right?
To an extent.
I would, yeah.
I
mean, we could dabble in that conversation because then you end up
Yeah.
thinking of secondary, right, accident, whatever. So like you go and you get in a fist fight and you don't mean to, kind of thing.
Oh yeah, I mean, if I run over somebody with my truck, I mean that's just, I mean that's two different things.
For you, it's
that's,
a speed bump.
Yeah. Oh, good night. That's that's a big fear of mine. But yeah, no, that's an accident. But I'm talking about just the hate in the heart and the sin that you're actually dealing with.
I got you.
Yeah.
Man, the heart does not fail to fail. I did want to tackle something with you. So not a long time ago, whatever. At one point, you discussed with me about prayer without cease. And you had an explanation. And for whatever reason, I'm having a hard time recalling it. It's been recent. I was trying to explain it to somebody. And I struggled with your explanation from what you found. And I'm curious if you can recall it off the...
So what is praying without ceasing?
Well, there's prayer, like I'm on my knees all day. And then there's prayer, like maybe conversation with God, or... So
you have to ask yourself, what is prayer then?
Conversation, I was always taught, and at least that's how I interpret it myself.
Yeah.
Prayer is conversation.
Because you don't have to get down on your knees to pray.
Sure, but like when you're praying, what is if I'm talking to God, I would say it's prayer.
Yeah, 100%.
But
how
do you cease? How do you pray without ceasing? Like how do you?
I think it's just always keeping him on the forefront of your mind, trying to at least.
So would that be in an action as well? So like, let's say I heard something really awesome on YouTube the other day of a guy. I think it was on a Jordan Peterson podcast, possibly. Anyway, he said this guy, one of his patients, changed his life to imagine everybody being disguised as Jesus, or Jesus was disguised in everyone.
Right.
And with that, basically, the guy said he changed his life because, talking to everybody, what if this is Jesus? It's just a test. He's in, I see. That person.
I see. I often think that what's humbling for me is when you look at others that you're judging. It's just, the flesh is just a horrible thing. And like, I still just judge people just by looking at them.
I hear people talk bad about homeless people.
Right. Yeah.
They deserve it.
But like, that guy, living underneath the bridge, God loves him just as much as me or, anybody. It doesn't matter. That love is all equal and all the same. He died for us all the same.
What I was getting at though is if I were to think that were Jesus in every situation, I'm talking even the boss who makes you uncomfortable or your neighbor who makes you uncomfortable for whatever reason because they're aggressive or whatever the case may be, and you're like, okay, that's Jesus disguised as this person to see how I react. So I'm going to act as if God is real. So I'm going to act as if that's Jesus. And then your behavior changes towards that. Would that be prayer without cease? Because he's on the forefront of your mind. It's not conversation with God. You're not sitting there going, Lord, help me. But you're thinking about him in that situation. So it's thinking about Jesus' prayer?
Yeah, it's essentially what I'm getting at.
Okay.
I think.
And I think that's where I was trying to come up with that explanation. Because I'm like, man, is that what he said? I didn't want to butcher what you said.
That's the best way I could put it is, my opinion, is just keeping him first on the forefront of your mind and all that you do, trying to, at least throughout the day, and all your actions and decisions. Because when he's on the forefront of your mind, essentially you are thinking and talking to him, more or less. You go and approach somebody, then you have him, that love, and how you should approach that person, how he would approach that person. You're essentially talking to him how you should navigate, but that's the really cool thing about the Holy Spirit too, is that he can speak through you sometimes.
Sometimes I worry with that.
How so?
If I'm evangelizing and I am on fire, and there's times where I find like, oh my goodness, I'm noticing. I'm like, this can't be me.
Oh yeah, it's crazy.
But then the thought comes in my mind: am I lying? Am I just coming up with stuff to like? Am I fudging?
Oh no, I know exactly what you're saying. It's crazy. It's wild. So there's an episode somewhere in the Chosen TV series, and Jesus sends his disciples out. And regardless of what the viewers on here think about what the Chosen is, this is just an example. he sends his disciples out. They go back to Jesus, and I forget who it was exactly, but they said, "Hey, Jesus, I've been out in the town and I said things that I just feel like a hypocrite." And I think that's what you're getting at. And when I seen that hit me hard, because I've been there at times to where I'm telling people about just all these things, and I end up preaching to myself. I feel like sometimes my intention is to like help somebody, and I end up helping myself more.
I agree.
Yeah, it's wild how it works.
As a matter of fact, I'll be honest, and this is
that's why I always preface when I'm talking about Jesus and stuff with people is I am far from a perfect person. At one point in my life, I hated Christians, and I don't ever want to be the Christian that I once hated. I don't want to be the guy that's flying the Jesus flag and I'm so holy. The only one that is holy and perfect is him.
True, but I think you'll always be the Jesus guy that you hated. Like now,
yeah. Yeah. I agree.
You're stuck.
To an
extent. Now that you know Jesus, you're stuck as a guy who people will hate who don't know him, and that's okay.
Even my own family.
I know.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah, and
that hurts.
And it's encouraging for me because, I know I'm doing the right thing.
Well, that's all scriptural
really
too.
Yeah, it is. But what I found out in that is that for a good period I was this serving two masters, essentially. One foot in, one foot out, and trying to be the cool guy.
Oh God.
And it never gets you anywhere. And I think there's a lot of Christians that fall into that trap. It's like, oh, I'm a Christian now. All of a sudden, I gotta start playing acoustic guitar and grow out a man bun and wear skinny jeans.
Mm-hmm.
But then all you have is a whole bunch of people that play acoustic guitars, and just like there's no. When you read Genesis, God is very clear that He's a creator, and if we're in the image of God, we're supposed to be creators too. We're all supposed to be different. It also goes back to the body of Christ as well. If you're an arm and I'm an arm, you need two arms, but you know what I'm saying. If
I get it.
Right,
I know where you're going with this.
Yeah, you got to be well rounded and diverse, and he created us all different and unique, and that's the
body of the church.
It is, and that's the.
And that's why I just want to get this out there.
That's what a relationship is. He can't have a relationship with the same people.
He can't. Well, that's the point I was about to make is with Catholics. They get a bad rap sometimes from a lot of Protestants, right? And vice versa. Mm-hmm. Catholics will hate on Protestants. But I believe from at this point that they are so unique in their own way to fill the body of the church. Catholics, I believe, have a position in the body of the church. They're absolutely there's a lot of great Catholics out there that are God-fearing. They do read scripture and they follow the rituals of the Catholic way, traditions, because they believe in tradition, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with believing in tradition or even the rituals that are done. I really don't find anything wrong with it. That's me personally.
Yeah.
And I think that Protestants are, and depending on what Protestant branch you're on, they're all part of it too, of the church. There's right wing, left wing, all in the Protestant world. But I think that there is extreme Protestantism. So, to make this as clear as I can, Catholics to me instill fear at a high level. They forget the humanity of Jesus. And I think that Protestants, in a lot of cases, focus too much on the humanity of Jesus, and they're more lax, saying, "I'm forgiven, I'm saved, I don't have to worry about anything. I'm going to heaven because of Christ." Great attitude, but I think it lacks the fear as well.
And the humility.
There needs to be a healthy balance. So Catholics are extreme one way, where it's like, if you don't follow these rules, you're going to hell. And then on the other side spectrum, it's don't worry about the rules. Yeah, you're saved through Christ. And it's like,
you need to have a healthy fear of God.
There has to be. You have to understand that Christ is still God.
That's something that I was thinking about too. Is we know that God is a good Father, and I talk to Him like I'm talking to a friend, but I'm not going to talk to Him like. You have to realize that even though He is a good Father and a friend and a brother and all of these things, He's still a king.
He is. He's royalty.
He's everything.
And he's
and
all things created through Him.
Right.
Like we're talking, this is not just a man, and He's not only divine. That's the beauty of it. And I think that we can get lost. I'll be honest, I fell in a trap at one point too. I feared God in a way that was unhealthy, right? I'll bring it up. Like as I was a kid, I looked at who God was. I feared him enough to where I was like, no relationship, because he was so beyond like the average person, right? And he was God, but there was enough fear in me to avoid him on a personal level, which led to me ultimately, I guess, pulling a Jonah, running away, right? So that led to, I think, a road of sin, honestly. And then I felt it was easier to deny who he was at that point because I had too much fear built up of this God, right? And then once I established on the other side of it, which was, okay, I lost God completely. Whether I had him, I think he was always with me. But he was not my God. He was a God. He was the God, but he wasn't my God.
Right. Still very distant.
So I was able to have that 1 foot in, 1 foot out thing. Yeah, I believe in Jesus. Oh, yeah, I believe in him. I know who he is. I didn't know him. I knew of him, right? And I knew that he existed at one time. And I know that, hey, he might be the ruler of this universe, but I didn't have the gall to like say, okay, what is it that God actually wants of me? You know what I mean?
I see.
So I walked the road of sin, deep sin. Like I'm a terrible sinner, and I know this, and that's okay. I've accepted what my journey has been to this point. And so on the flip side, unfortunately, it took till I was 30 to decide that Christ is my God. But it all started when he was like, hey, you want to deal with that sin in your life? Right? I'm a gambler, or ex-gambler now. Feels wonderful to say it. But I was indulging in gambling. Deep stuff, dude. I'm telling you, I was borrowing and all this stuff. It was terrible.
Just a complete slave to the lender, yeah.
I was 100% fixated on money.
Right.
And I was using God to say, hey, I need money so I can take care of your people. Do you understand that I was using Jesus as a leverage to get what I wanted? I was making deals with God. Come on, God, I need more money. I need to be able to provide for others.
Right.
Here we go.
Yep.
This is how much I read scripture at that time. I promise, God, I will do right by this money. I promise. And scripture tells you don't do that. Do not promise God anything. Don't promise, because you break them as a human being. The only one who can make a covenant or a promise is God, and because he can't break his promises. So there I am making deals with God, right? And finally, when the world came crumbling down, I remember feeling hell. I don't share a lot of this. This is stuff that it's time, whatever. It's just a little bit of background of who I am. I remember when I had so much money tied up into crypto, and I remember I was getting so aggressive using, it was 75 odds to 1 payout. So like I was borrowing $75 for every dollar I had and putting it all in black, essentially, right? On a certain crypto. And I went after it. And I remember like pleading to God, like, my world is going to fall apart if this doesn't work, God. Because I have all this money tied up in this. That I need you. And like I'm needing him. Like I don't need him. What I'm asking for is money. I need the money. There's a clear distinction there.
Yeah.
So I'm like, God, I need you. I need you. I don't. I needed the money. That's what I was actually focused on. So with that, he broke it. Because I was calling on him enough to where he took more money out, more money away. And I remember it like it was yesterday, dude. I am with my youngest. My wife's in the other room in the bathroom cleaning up, the older one, getting ready for bed. And my phone lights up. And it says, your account's been liquidated. I had thousands tied up into that. And I looked over at it, and I saw liquidated. What are you talking about? So I opened up my phone, and it said, count $0. And I saw on the chart, it dropped. It rug pulled, right? Money gone. And I literally, I felt hell. I got a hot flash, like, typical anxiety, almost like I saw a murder. Yeah. That's what it felt like. And I hit the floor, and my hands hit the floor, and I felt heat. And so it was like my hands, my palms, everything, my hands were on fire. And I was like, what? And I let go of the ground. I was like feeling my hands because it was freaking me out a little bit. Like, because one is I was already in tunnel vision over what I just saw on my phone. And then my hands were so hot that it took my attention off of what I was even freaking out about. It ended up being my hands. And I was like, So and in the moment, I didn't even think it was hell. In a moment, I was just like, what? I thought it was a side effect of anxiety. And, I tried to do a little research later, and I didn't really find anything about that. However, I looked at my baby in her eyes, and I was like, your daddy is the biggest piece of trash. You're going to find out one day everything about your father. And he is not a good man. Like, I started to finally come to that conclusion. And it all was hitting real. And so next day, I go to work. One is I'm not eating up to this point. I'm not doing well. Anxiety's already set in, and I'm not doing well. My wife started picking up on it. She's asking questions, but get away. I'm not ready to expose it, Like, this is a secret. But anyway, I'm at work, laying down, and I'm praying to God, and I'm like, all right, God, I know you're real, and I'm begging you to let me win something to take away the debt. Please take away this debt, and then I won't ever go back to it. So that's what I was asking. It was a pretty blanket open statement, but in my mind, it was money. Please somehow fill that account and get rid of it. Well, that night, I go and, wife asks a few more questions. She's prying, dude. She's like, something. She knows me.
Oh, yeah.
Right? She knows when something's wrong. And we have our Bibles out. And we just really started in our faith journey together at this point. We were into the Chosen. We're reading Scripture together. We're having a lot of bonding over that, And so the Bible's on my lap. And she's like, you can tell me anything, right? You can, and I won't judge, that kind of thing. And it came out like somebody else was speaking for a moment. It was just, get it out. It just happened. I just was like, I got to tell you something. And I shared it with her. And it's crazy because, like, it all was around God in the first place. He was the center of my confession. And it ended up being just so relieving. Because it was something I'm telling you, I was caught up in sin up till my 30s. Well, technically 28 is really up to 30. I would say 30 is when it really started kicking. He dealt with that, dude. Like, he dealt with it in a way that I didn't anticipate. I thought he was going to fill my account and get rid of it, and I could move on and serve the Lord. But it's not what he wanted. Because I'm a stubborn person. You got to burn it out of me, unfortunately. So gambling, he burned it out of me. Porn, all that stuff, he burned it out of me. I'm telling you. And then even nicotine. I had a nicotine addiction for a while. But it was my addiction. I didn't share it with anybody. Kept it, I went and bought my Zyn, whatever the case be, because I got to stop chewing. But it was another secret way of getting nicotine in my system. But I didn't want anyone to know about it, including my family. What did he do? He burned it out of me. So at this point, dude, I'm like, okay, God, you've dealt with so many bad sins in my life to the point where you made it very clear. And I am not messing with God anymore. Like, I'm not messing with him. I'm not saying, I'm not going to promise him anything. I'm just going to try my best to follow him. But I will tell you this. When you are ready to get the sin out of your life, it's going to be painful.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Pain has to be associated. Now I fear the Lord. I fear him in a way that's like a good father, right? How sometimes he has to spank you.
Yep.
And it gets you straight. For me, I needed a couple spankings. And now I'm like, I know what you're capable of, God. And I fear your power. But I also love you so much for getting me out of the fire.